So many choices. I think we're gonna go with the Les Paul. So far in this series about producing the second volume of the Railroads Online soundtrack, we've talked about how I got the gig of doing the soundtrack, we've talked about how I record songs, and how I mix songs. This time we're going to take a little step back and we're going to talk about how I write songs. Now, the way that I personally write songs is probably different from a lot of people out there. My process typically starts with a guitar, and I'll just be playing around and seeing what happens, and a lot of times melodies will just come out that are cool, and that's the first step in songwriting, is you really need to have a melody. A melody is the primary part of the song. It's the thing that grabs the listener's ear, be it a hook or the motif that the song has. So you gotta come up with that first, and then the rest of the song starts from there. With the way I typically come up with melodies, it's hard to document that process, because I would have to record the whole time I'm playing guitar and capture the aha moment. So for today's video, I'm going to play a melody that I came up with, and I'm gonna write the rest of the song in front of you on camera. So first things first, let's hear the melody I came up with. So there's two kinds of approaches once you have a melody. One is to create the whole song structure just with whatever your melodic instrument is. Go from there. The other is fill it out section by section. So we have what will be one section of the song, and we just need to figure out what the rest of the parts are gonna be. And just to keep it kind of continuous for you guys, we're gonna do that method. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what the foundation and the rhythm that goes along with this part is gonna sound like. So the first instrument we need to consider for foundational purposes is the bass guitar. The bass is going to hold us to the chords and the rhythm of the song. So I'm going to try and come up with a bass part on the fly that matches that. I know vaguely what the chords are based on the melody, but I'm not sure if it's going to work, so we're going to try a couple things and see what happens. And the next instrument after bass is going to be a rhythm guitar track. We've got a melody, and we've got a bass that gives us foundation, but we need something that gives us harmony, and the bass plus the melody note can start to form a chord, but you need to have at least 3 notes to form a chord. We're going to try and figure out a good harmony guitar track, and that'll pretty much round out this section, at least musically. Cool. The first rhythm guitar track we did fit pretty well, and that's because the melody that we chose had a lot of third harmony in it already. We already had minor thirds and major thirds, which helped us pick chords that were minor and major. So it's pretty easy to come up with a rhythm guitar track to that. So right there we have the first section of the song figured out, and we might further flesh it out with a couple more instruments later if we feel like it, but we've at least got the idea of these are the notes, this is how it's going to work, this is how the harmony works, and we can deal with arrangement and instrumentation later. The next thing to do is come up with another section. Typically in song structures, you'll have a number of different sections to the song, and they'll be arranged in varying different manners. Typical arrangement is kind of a verse and a chorus, verse and a chorus, bridge, and then back to a chorus, or something along that nature. That's a little bit less important in the terms of a soundtrack, where we're trying to just enhance the flavor of something else that's the primary focus of your attention, but still it's good to keep in mind. It's important to make sure that though a soundtrack song may be long, it doesn't turn into the structure of something like Led Zeppelin's Achilles' Last Stand, which follows the song structure of... yeah. This time we're going to start with the bass, get our chords lined out, and we're going to come up with something that fits on top. And the reason I want to do this is that the A section is a little bit rock and roll, but I really want the B section to be a little bit more country with a kind of bouncing bass groove like this. And kind of repeat from there, and we'll come up with when the A section comes back in and maybe a bridge, and that'll be the song. So, Like most times with recording something, some magic happened while I was recording the musical part, but it wasn't on camera. So I'm gonna try and explain what just happened to you in my writing process. So I was recording the B section that I played for you on bass already with a click track going, and it was a little obnoxious for you guys to sit there and listen to the click. And so the magic part is, in my head while I was playing the bass, I heard what the guitar could do as a bridge part, how he could take the melody that I'd already recorded and then break it down to something else that would fit. And as I was going, I realized it and knew what the bass would need to do. And so I just played the bass part to it. And I don't know if what my head was thinking the melody was gonna do is gonna work, but I think regardless, I'm gonna be able to come up with something that'll fit the bass part. So it's one of those spontaneous, creative things that happens to me when I record all the time. I'll be in the middle of something and something magical will pop out and I just kind of carry on with it. Sorry you missed it, but there's part of the writing process is the little fairy dust that gets sprinkled in. I think that's actually one of my favorite things about playing all the different instruments that I do, is that each instrument inspires you differently while you're playing to write different things. I respond differently to each one of these guitars and write different things on each of them, even though to someone who doesn't play guitar, they all look like electric guitars. But to me, I've got a different history and story with each one, and each one affects how I write and how I play differently. And that's what I love about this stuff. I think you guys probably understand the process of writing songs, or one of the ways that I write songs at the very least, which is come up with a melody, find the harmony to that melody and the foundational pieces to that melody, find more pieces that fit along with it and start to put them together in a structure. One of the most important things you can remember while writing a song is that songwriting and song structure is all about tension and release. You change something, you make it tense, feel new, and you bring everyone back to that comfortable place of home. So that melody is going to serve as the base point of, okay, this is what we got introduced to. We know this. We like it, we're happy, we want to go back to it. But we want to have a little journey on the way back to it. So we'll go to a different section, it'll have some different elements, some different chords, different harmonies. When you come back to that home, it'll be really powerful. The whole point of the bridge is to reset up a strong entry point back into a chorus or melody or whatever you have in the song. So we have a whole structure of a song. We know what's gonna happen. We know we have a melody for the A section, and I've got an idea in my head for what we're gonna do for the bridge. All that remains is, what do we do over the B sections as far as a melody voice goes? And I think fitting in with the country kind of theme, I think I'm gonna grab a mandolin and I'm gonna grab a banjo, and I'm probably gonna grab an acoustic guitar or a dobro maybe, and just do a little improvisational solo stuff and see what kind of comes out from that. It's not necessary to have that kind of big hooky melody all the time. Like I said in one of the previous videos, we're making a soundtrack for a video game. We're not the focal point. We're not supposed to drag the viewer into us. We're supposed to be nice in the background. So if they've got a good beat and they've got good instruments going on, doesn't necessarily matter what we play, so long as we go to that home point we talked about. Based on those ideas, I'm gonna grab those instruments and I'm gonna go record that stuff, but you guys get to hear the whole complete song right now. By the way, these banjo tracks brought to you by my good friend Will, who loaned me his banjo like 5 years ago, and I don't know if he still knows that I have it. So Will, if you're watching this and you want your banjo back, thank you for its service and shoot me a text. So that was a look into how I write songs personally. It's not how I always write songs. Every song is unique and inspiration can hit you differently every time, but that should at least give you a glimpse at my personal process. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed the third song off of the upcoming Volume 2 of the Railroads Online soundtrack. If you like this video, or the soundtrack or Railroads Online, please give us a like and subscribe on the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Click the little bell if you want to be notified when these videos go live. I try to post them about once a week so you guys can stay up to date with what I'm doing. Please let me know if you have any other questions or comments about music production or anything else, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.